silent halls of a Chinese university museum, something extraordinary was hidden in plain sight. For almost a century, a massive fossilized skull, a masterpiece of human evolution, lay wrapped in secrecy, its existence a whispered rumor among a select few. It was a relic of a time so distant, it might as well have been another world. Discovered in the chaos of a bygone war, its journey from the mud of a riverbed to the hallowed halls of academia is a tale of cunning secrecy and profound scientific revelation. This is the story of the Dragon Man skull, a discovery so significant it has the power to redraw the very map of human evolution, a face from our past that may finally give a name and a form to one of our most mysterious ancient relatives. The story begins in the winter of 1933 on the frozen banks of the Songhua River near the city of Harbin in northeast China. The region was under the brutal occupation of the Imperial Japanese Army. A Chinese laborer whose name has been lost to history was part of a work crew building a bridge. During the grueling work, his shovel struck something hard in the thick mud. He unearthed a massive, perfectly preserved human skull, unlike any he had ever seen. He immediately recognized its importance. But with the Japanese army known to plunder artifacts, he made a decision that would forever change the course of paleoanthropology. He hid it. The laborer wrapped the skull in a protective cloth and buried it in an abandoned well, a secret kept only by him. The decades passed, and the skull remained hidden, a ghost in the earth. The laborer grew old, and on his deathbed in 2018, he revealed the skull's location to his family. His descendants retrieved the magnificent fossil, and after nearly 90 years, it was finally brought to the attention of scientists. Dr. Chiang Ji, a professor at Hebei GEO University, acquired the skull, and a new era of research began. What the scientists saw was breathtaking. The skull was almost perfectly intact, a complete cranium, and a mandible in a way that is incredibly rare for such ancient remains. Its most striking features were its immense size and robust structure. The face was wide, with large square eye sockets. The brow ridge was thick, but not as pronounced as a classic Neanderthal. The cranium was low and long, but not as flattened as that of earlier hominins. This was a mosaic, a unique blend of features that defied easy classification. It had primitive traits like its huge teeth, but also more modern ones, a mix that set it apart from both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The researchers, after a painstaking analysis, named the new species Homo longi, or Dragon Man, a reference to the region's ancient name, Heilongjiang, which translates to Black Dragon River. Their publication in the journal The Innovation sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Here in the heart of East Asia was evidence of a previously unknown human lineage, a powerful and successful species that had coexisted with our own ancestors and with Neanderthals during the Middle Pleistocene epoch. The story of the skull's rediscovery, its almost mythological journey from the riverbed to the laboratory, was a perfect match for the epic scale of the creature it once contained. The Dragon Man was not just a new species. It was a ghost from a time when the world was far more crowded with different kinds of humans than we ever imagined. The skull's long, secretive journey was over, but its scientific journey had just begun. When the fossil finally emerged from its hiding place, it presented a stark and singular image of a forgotten human ancestor. It was unlike anything the researchers had ever seen. The cranium itself was massive, a testament to the robust and powerful being it once housed. Its estimated brain size at 1/420 cubic centimeters, fell squarely within the range of both modern humans and Neanderthals, a clear indication of a highly intelligent mind. But it was the face that truly captivated the scientists. It was wide, almost rectangular, with a low and sloping forehead. The brow ridge was prominent and thick, a powerful arc of bone that shadowed two massive, almost square-shaped eye sockets. The cheekbones were flat and flared outwards, giving the face an imposing breadth. Its jaws were equally impressive, a lower mandible discovered in the same geological layer, showing a great breadth and a set of remarkably large molars. Taken together, these features created a visage of immense strength and fortitude, a face perfectly adapted to the unforgiving environment of Middle Pleistocene Asia. Yet within this robust and archaic framework, there were hints of modernity. While the brow ridge was thick, it was not the double-arched bar seen in a classic Neanderthal. The skull's overall shape, though long and low, had a more rounded vault than earlier hominins, like Homo erectus. This unique mosaic of traits was the core of the scientific mystery. It was a being that seemed to borrow features from all corners of the human family tree, yet belonged to none of them entirely. The skull was dated using geochemical methods, specifically uranium series dating on the mineral deposits in the fossilized mud still clinging to the skull. The results were startling, approximately 146,000 years old. This placed the Dragon Man squarely in the Middle Pleistocene, a time when Homo sapiens was just beginning to emerge in Africa, and Neanderthals dominated Europe and parts of West Asia. In East Asia, a different kind of human one with this immense and unique cranium was flourishing. Based on this extraordinary combination of features and its distinct evolutionary timeline, the research team from Hebei, GEO University, made a bold claim. They argued that this was not merely a new population of a known species, but an entirely new human lineage. They proposed the name Homo longi, declaring it a sister group to Homo sapiens, more closely related to us than to Neanderthals. This was a direct challenge to the accepted model of human evolution, a direct pushback against the notion that all major branches of our family tree were already known. The publication of their findings sent a seismic tremor through the world of paleoanthropology, sparking an immediate and intense debate. Was this truly a new species, a dragon man, that had walked the earth? Or was it something else, a missing link to a more familiar and mysterious relative? The world of paleoanthropology is a landscape of profound gaps and silent mysteries. Of all the shadows in our family tree, none is more enigmatic than the Denisovans. For years, our knowledge of this ancient human lineage was confined to a single fragment of a finger bone and a few teeth unearthed in a cave in Siberia's Altai Mountains. They were a species known only by their name and their DNA. Genetic analysis of that tiny finger bone revealed an entire population of humans distinct from both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, yet closely related to both. They were a ghost in our genetic code, a powerful, successful hominin that interbred with our ancestors and whose legacy lives on in the DNA of modern populations in East Asia and Oceania. But what did they look like? How did they live? The lack of a complete skull left these questions maddeningly unanswered. The Denisovans were a face without a face. Then came the Dragon Man. Almost as soon as the Chinese research team's paper was published, a chorus of international experts began to offer an alternative and perhaps even more tantalizing explanation. They argued that Homo longi was not a new species at all, but rather the first complete cranium of a Denisovan. The evidence for this connection was compelling even without DNA. The skull's location, East Asia, is a region where genetic evidence suggests Denisovans thrived. its age approximately 146,000 years old, places it in the same time frame as other Denisovan fossil evidence. Perhaps the most crucial piece of evidence came from a fossil found thousands of miles away on the Tibetan plateau. In 2019, a jawbone discovered in Baishia Karst Cave was identified as Denisovan through protein analysis. This jaw was massive and robust, with exceptionally large molars features that aligned perfectly with the huge teeth of the Harbin mandible found with the dragon man skull. Suddenly, the isolated findings began to connect. A robust jaw from Tibet and a massive cranium from Harbin, both dating to a similar period and a similar geographic range, presented a powerful argument. The morphological similarities were too striking to ignore. In this view, the dragon man skull becomes a breathtaking revelation, the face of a Denisovan. It would finally put a face to a name, giving us a physical form for a species we have only ever known as a whisper in our DNA. It would confirm that Denisovans were not just a small population in Siberia, but a widespread and powerful hominin that roamed vast swathes of ancient Asia. It would mean that this massive skulled individual from the frozen riverbank was not an entirely new branch on our family tree, but rather a long-lost cousin we had been searching for all along. The debate rages on with both sides presenting strong cases, but the possibility that the Dragon Man is the long-awaited Denisovan has captured the imagination of the scientific community and the public alike. It raises a fascinating question: how many more hidden human lineages are still waiting to be discovered buried in the mud of a river or locked away in the fragments of our own DNA? The classification debate surrounding the Dragon Man skull is not just a semantic argument. It is a fundamental discussion about the shape of our evolutionary history. For generations, the human family tree was depicted as a neat, linear progression, a single line of ancestors culminating in Homo sapiens. But this new discovery, regardless of whether the skull is ultimately classified as Homo longi or a Denisovan, shatters that tidy image forever. It confirms what geneticists have been suggesting for years, that our past was not a single line, but a dense, tangled, and bushy family tree with many branches, some of which thrived for millennia before fading away. The skull tells a powerful story of a world far more crowded with different kinds of humans than we ever imagined. 146,000 years ago, the Earth was home to a variety of hominin populations, each uniquely adapted to their environment. In Europe and parts of West Asia, the robust, cold-adapted Neanderthals were the dominant human form. In Africa, our own ancestors, early Homo sapiens, were taking their first tentative steps toward global migration. And in East Asia, a different human lineage, perhaps the Dragon Man or the Denisovan, was thriving in the vast, unforgiving landscapes of what is now China. The possibility that these groups not only coexisted, but also interbred, leaving traces of their DNA in our own genome, adds a layer of intimacy and complexity to our shared history that is both humbling and awe-inspiring. The Dragon Man skull forces us to reconsider the role of East Asia in human evolution. For a long time, the region was seen as a secondary stage, populated by offshoots from the main events in Africa and Europe. But this discovery, along with other recent findings, suggests that East Asia was a central hub of human evolution, a crucible where different human populations arose, flourished, and interacted with one another in ways we are only now beginning to understand. It shows us that our story is not just a journey out of Africa and across Europe, but a global epic with many different players, each contributing to the complex tapestry of our past. The mystery of the Denisovans in particular looms large over this discovery. If the Dragon Man is indeed a Denisovan, it finally gives us a face for this enigmatic population. It would tell us they were a massive, powerful, and successful hominin, a force to be reckoned with across the continent. But even if it is a new species, Homo longi, it still raises profound questions. Where did it come from? What was its relationship to other hominins? Why did it ultimately disappear? The skull is a profound beginning, not an end. It is a new chapter in a story that is still being written, a call to arms for a new generation of scientists to venture into the field, to find more fossils, to collect more data, and to piece together the remaining fragments of our deep and tangled past. The Dragon Man's skull is a ghost made real, and in its presence, we are reminded that the story of humanity is far from over. The Dragon Man's skull, with its massive brow and wide-set eyes, stares out at us from a time that feels both alien and deeply familiar. Its journey from a mud-caked riverbank to the epicenter of a global scientific debate is a story as epic as the species it may represent. For decades, it was a silent witness to history, a secret buried in the earth, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Now, in the halls of a modern university, it has finally found its voice. The mystery of its identity, whether it is a new species, Homo longi, or the long-sought face of the Denisovans, is the central question of our time in paleoanthropology. But regardless of the final answer, the skull has already accomplished something extraordinary. It has shattered our preconceived notions of a simple linear human family tree, replacing it with a complex branching and ultimately more truthful image. It has shown us a world where multiple human lineages coexisted, interacted, and interbred, a world far richer and more diverse than we ever imagined. The Dragon Man is more than just a fossil. It is a profound testament to the power of scientific inquiry. It is a reminder that the story of our past is not a completed book, but a series of continuous discoveries, each one building upon the last, each one challenging us to think bigger and to be more open to the unexpected. The scientific debate that rages around this skull is not a sign of confusion, but of a healthy and vibrant field, a testament to the rigorous process of questioning, theorizing, and searching for the truth. In its presence, we are confronted with the humbling reality of our own place in history. We are but one branch of a much larger tree, a sole survivor of a long and competitive journey. The genes of these other human groups, the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, live on within us, a genetic echo of a time when the world was filled with different kinds of humanity. The Dragon Man, whether a new species or a long-lost cousin, makes that past tangible. It gives a face to the shadows, a form to the ghosts in our DNA. And in doing so, it invites us to look upon our own past and our own future with a newfound sense of wonder and humility. The skull, a silent witness to an epic and forgotten world, now speaks to us, and its voice is one of our own kind,